Hello guys and welcome to my channel and welcome to Emperor. So where we left off, we created our residential district and added the people there, and we also created our farms to try to produce some food. Now the next step for our citizens would be to actually start distributing that food, but right now if we go to the industry tab, we can see we still have like 47% unemployment. So before trying to evolve the rest of the houses, I think I'm gonna set up some industry first, and specifically for our houses, one of the requirements is to have ceramics. So let's try to set up that industry now, and I think I'm gonna do it somewhere around here. So for ceramics we will need to build clay pits, so we can add those. Let's add them somewhere around here maybe. By the way, you might notice that when you try to place buildings, in some places the buildings are highlighted green, in other places they're highlighted yellow. This basically is a special mechanic of the game which is called Feng Shui. Each building has their own requirements in terms of placing. This will depend on the type of terrain that you want to place on, and maybe some other objects that are around the building, like if you have trees or rocks. If you place your buildings in the green zone, that will give a boost to Feng Shui, which will give a boost to the happiness of your citizens. Now it's an interesting challenge to try to build all of the buildings in Feng Shui zone and have them Feng Shui positive, but it doesn't really affect that much gameplay, so I'm gonna just ignore that for now. So here we want to build up some, and let me actually pause the game. We want to build up some clay pits. This will generate clay, and I think I'm gonna have like 4 of them because we need quite a lot of ceramics. And in order to process that clay into ceramics, we actually need to also build kilns. So let me add some of them here. The ratio is you need 2 clay pits for 3 kilns. So we've added 4 clay pits, so we will need 6 kilns in total. So here I'm gonna have a second road, so let's just do something like this. And again, let's not forget the inspector tower, and we're gonna add one there. And this should be our industry. By the way, safety is really important, so if inspector towers are not manned, then you might have buildings collapsing. So you need to make sure that your inspector services are working, otherwise you might lose some buildings. Also, the citizens require amenities. So for instance, if I were to delete this fountain, then some houses might not get access to the needs and they will de-evolve, which will lead to you having less citizens and not having enough workers to work your buildings. So in this game there's a constant risk that, and by the way, if the house doesn't receive water, for instance, it can go directly from a really advanced buildings that hosts a lot of citizens to something really basic, and a lot of people will leave immediately. So the failure in this game can snowball pretty hard, and one way to avoid that is to actually prioritize some of types of buildings. In order to do that, you can go to the industry tab and click this button here. And here we can see the breakdown of the workforce allocation. So we can see how many people work in each industry. Now, and you can also prioritize them. So I would like to prioritize safety, commerce, and entertainment, because safety relates to the inspectors. If you don't have inspectors working, then you might have buildings collapsing. Commerce relates to the marketplace and the meal and the warehouses and stuff like that. This is also important to make sure that your houses don't de-evolve and they have everything that they need. And religion is used as a service. Right now we only have the ancestral shrine here, but it's important to have religion to make sure that the houses don't de-evolve again. So if you set them to high, first the workers will go into these fields, into these domains, and then will start to man the other ones. Another important one is also agriculture, because you want to make sure that you have enough food to feed your population. So I'm just gonna set this to high, and we're gonna keep the other ones to moderate. Okay, with that we set up our industrial zone. Actually, let's also add in a warehouse where we could store the produced ceramics. So here we're gonna set it to accept. Remember, we still have this warehouse here set to get ceramics. Basically what this means is that they will try first to go to this warehouse, first to send the goods to this warehouse, and it will do that up to 12 resources. But afterwards they will store it in this warehouse. And I'm curious, okay, they don't specifically meet it. Would have been nice if those would have meted here, but just to make traversing a bit faster for the guys there, let's actually try to include a bridge here. Like that, and this way the route from the industrial zone to the residential zone is a bit faster. Now I've added a roadblock here. I've explained a bit the roadblocks in the previous episode, but basically we need to make sure that the inspector goes into this direction and doesn't go through here. So yeah, we've set it up, the industrial zone. I think we can just continue time here. And now, for the first time, I think in this playthrough, we actually need workers. So because of that, I think we could potentially start working on some distribution. What's the problem? Yeah, they have water, should be okay. I don't know why these buildings are not evolving. They should have evolved with water, but maybe people are leaving. But anyways, because we have now we need some more workers to come in, I guess we can start distributing food to our citizens so that they will grow a bit. And I think these guys are leaving.
No amount of cash candy will prevent the kitchen guard.
I think because we had a lot of unemployment in the city, people are now starting to leave, but it's okay, people will return soon. By the way, in this game, you can right click any character, and this would actually give you some information about your city, but there's also a lot of flavor and charm to the dialogues that these guys have. So
By the crushed tooth of the dragon, this is a splendid city.
basically right now everyone kinda loves the city, but should be fine. Okay, so let's try to provide food to our citizens. For that you need to go to the commerce section, and in shops pick the shops that you want. In our case we're just gonna do food for now. And once we have that set up and people are working there, the shop will spawn this person. Let's see if I can access it, which will go to the nearest meal house and buy food to be used in the marketplace. So that's why meal houses should be close to your marketplaces. And this person will come in, and now this shop is stocked. Now, how does the marketplace work? They basically generate this type of workers. I can't really click them right now. This type of workers, and they will travel around the residential zone and drop off products required by the people. Now, because we have these doors set up, right now they're just going into this direction, and in order to allow them to go further into the residential complex, you actually need to right click the door and hit and allow market employees to go through there. And we will do the same here. Now, the reason for adding these doors in the residential zones is to basically allow the market employees to go through the residential zone, but not allow any other type of workers to go through there, because that way you basically limit the path that they need to travel, and they will be able to travel a bit more in here. Okay, without being done, you can see that now houses are starting to evolve, which will make it so that we'll get way more workers to be used in our city. We also ran out of food, so the person needed to go back and buy some more food. So this is a pretty basic setup, but it should work for now, and with all of the people moving in, so this house can have it has already 14 occupants and can add 8 to it. This house has 14 occupants, so if we add 8 occupants to each house, then we will get quite a lot of workers to actually work with. So this is a good setup for now. I would actually want now to focus a bit on trying to make some money, because we have limited money. We still have quite a lot of cash left, but we should try to start making money, and for that we need to do trading. So right now if we click this button here, we can go to the map, and these are different cities that are present on the map, and you can trade with each one, and you could also conquer them if you have an army. But each city will have certain products that they're going to buy and certain products that they're going to sell. So you would like to buy to sell to these cities products that you produce for money, and then maybe buy some of the things that you don't have available for the city, because each map cannot produce everything. This line indicates that we have a trade route opened, so right now we could trade with Kashgar, but the other cities in the region we don't know anything about them, so we don't know what they will buy, what they will sell. In order to find out, you actually need to interact with them. So one of the things I'm gonna do now is to try to go ahead and click this button here, select each city and click this button to try to interact with the city and try to open up a trade route with the city. You need a trade route signed and open in order to actually trade. Doing this will first discover the city and will find out what they need. Some of them would want to just trade with us and might accept, but just a few of them, I think. But in order to actually have a trade route, you might need to also improve relations with those cities. And for that, it's good to know what they actually need and try to send them a gift specifically of that thing that they actually need. Now, also ignore a bit the map. It's thrown in this corner right here. It looks a bit weird. This is from the resolution patch, because basically the map has its own original resolution, unfortunately, and you cannot really change that through the patch. So the map will be a bit small, but ignore that for now. We do have this trade open with Kashgar already, and I can see that they buy silk, lacquerware, and salt. So I think we might be able to actually produce those. So, okay, this house needs food. So silk comes from silk worm sheds, which will then need to be processed. But I think we can add in some silkworms here and try to create some silk. Now, for the silkworms, you basically need quite a small amount of space to process them. Now, the building itself supports quite a long field, so you need to create first the silkworm shed, and then you can add in mulberry trees. Now, the building supports quite a lot of fields to be added on them, quite a lot of trees, but you don't really need that much for a single one. You basically need, this will maximize the production of silk there, so we can keep it a bit limited there. Now I think I'm gonna keep them to this zone right here, so let me actually delete these trees. This will be purely agricultural, I think. So yeah, now the trade comes in, and some people, I think a city, 2 cities now accepted, 3 cities, but most of them actually refused. We'll take a look at that a bit later, but now let's actually add in all of the trees needed. So we have 2, let's add 1 more here, and maybe let's have 1 more. We'll add more production in the future if we want. So something like that. And now, as you can see, the people are starting to harvest those. They will produce raw silk, which will need to be processed. So for that, should we do it somewhere around here? Let's do it somewhere around here in the industrial zone. I'm gonna add here a road. Let's add an inspector tower to make sure we cover this. And we're gonna add in some weavers. I think this should be enough for now. Let's add just 1 more. And we add him there. And now the raw silk from the production here should go to the weavers, and then they should create silk. And actually, let's also store that in this warehouse for now. Okay. With that being created, silk production will slowly come in. How are we on workers? We are pretty okay on workers right now. I think this house will need hemp in order to evolve, and we could do that. So another requirement besides food for our citizens is hemp. That's why we've added this hemp farm right here. And if we build up an hemp store, then another citizen will spawn that will come in and get the hemp from the warehouse and sell it to the citizens in the residential house. But now I would actually want to have a place where for us, and you can see that the houses are now evolving. They go from plain cottages to attractive cottages. If we want to evolve them again, we'll need music, but we're gonna wait until we actually require the workers. But we need to set up a zone where we would conduct some of the trade, and I think this place is actually good for that. It's close to the center of the city, and this should be fine. So in order to set up the trade, you need a trading station. We said that we wanted to trade with Kashgar, so let's add that first. Can we do something with the Feng Shui? Okay, we're just gonna ignore it for now, but we're gonna set the trade station there. Again, don't forget about the inspector towers, otherwise some of the buildings might collapse. And here in the trade station we can actually set up certain resources to be sold. Here we can buy spices and stones, and we could sell salt, lacquerware or silk. For now we are producing silk, so let's set this to selling. Silk honestly in this game is the best product to sell. So because it's pretty easy to produce, considering, so you do need to have silkworms and you need to have weavers, but it's easy to produce and it's really expensive. So this is a really good product to sell. So let's just gonna do that. Once we have that set up, the trade house will go to the warehouses which contain silk and start and retrieve them to be sold. Now we're starting to get a surplus of ceramics, and there's a mechanic in the game which can bite you in the ass if you're not careful, which is the religion mechanic. Now I'll be honest, in some of the other games like Zeus for instance, I thought they did religion a bit better. In Zeus you had things like you have the monument here, they were temples, and you could just when you build a temple you'll get access to a deity which gave you certain benefits to your city. This works in a similar manner, but instead of building a temple, you need to provide resources and sacrifice them to those gods. Each of them have their own benefits and can do certain stuff. In order to access the gods, you'll need to place religion buildings. In our case, because we only placed the ancestral shrine, then we get access only to the ancestral deities. But you have deities for ancestral. I think this is Taoism or Confucianism, or maybe this is Confucianism, this is Taoism, and this is Buddhism, if I remember correctly. But each of the gods have their own benefits. Some of them are really interesting, but and in order to get them, you'll need to have that build and build. Now once you get them, they will have a certain inclination to you. Right now the gods are angry because we haven't done any sacrifices yet, and because of that, sometimes if you keep the gods angry, then you can have disasters, things like earthquakes and floods and stuff like that. Now disasters can happen at any point, but making the gods happy will reduce the frequency at which they happen. So in order to avoid that in the future, I'm actually gonna select Nuhua and provide her a great offering of ceramics. Now, the better the resource, the more expensive the resource, the best is the benefit from the offering. So I really like to keep ceramics specifically for this purpose, specifically for offerings, because you don't need that much ceramics for your people, and it's really hard to get a city that buys ceramics. So I'm gonna keep silk for export to make money, and I'm gonna keep ceramics to please the gods. So here for Nuwa, I'm gonna use ceramics and I'm gonna provide a great offering. And now we can see that she's pleased. You can do only one offering per week, per month, sorry. And you can see the month in here, the calendar. And I will try to keep all of them at least in pleased or content, so that we reduce the chances of having a disaster in the city. One of the things I don't like about this mechanic is that the ceramics can be gone from any warehouse, and now it disappeared from here because I think this was the first warehouse that was built, and unfortunately this might cause us to not have enough ceramics for our citizens, and that's one of the downsides there, but we'll see. We'll work with it when that happens. Okay, we also got some other trades with other cities, so let's check them out. So Zhongdu here buys rice, lacquerware, spices and steel. We don't have steel, we don't have spices, but we could build lacquerware. And rice, I think we have quite a lot of surplus rice. So I think I might build this trade post to get rid of some of the extra rice that we have. Gonjo here buys silk, salt, tea and carved jade. I think from here we can only produce silk. We're already selling silk to Kashgar, so I think we're okay without trade route for now. Let's see if we have some extra silk, we might also sell to them. And Yangzhou here buys lacquerware, which we'll get to producing a bit later, and also sells carved jade. Okay, so I think I'm gonna build this trade route to Jiangdo and try to sell some rice. They also buy a lot of lacquerware, so this might be a really good way to make money. The cities won't buy resources, an infinite amount of resources. They will be limited to a certain amount. In this case, Kashgar will buy a maximum of 24 resources per year, so 24 bolts of silk per year. And once you reach that limit, then they won't buy anymore. You'll have to wait next year to sell more. So we said we wanted Jiangdu, and that for in order to sell the rice. Here we don't really need to buy anything, but we could sell the rice. Hopefully should be okay, because we have a lot of rice produced that that we are not currently eating. Our farms basically are producing quite a lot of food right now, so we do still have some rice left. So I'm gonna try to sell it and see if that if it affects our food supply. If not, we're just gonna try to sell some rice there. Okay, And with that, we are starting to make some money. Now, trade is the main way of making money, and I think is the best way of making money. But you do also have other options, and we already reached the limit here, so already selling the maximum amount. We could store this rice somewhere, but I think we can just keep it there and keep it in real barrels. There should be okay. For other resources, we might have space in the mill, but we do have a lot of food. How are we in unemployment? Where we're not pretty. We still need to provide some more jobs for that. So, like I was saying, trade is one of the ways to make money. Another way is to actually have taxes. And for that we need to build a tax office. They will go through the residential zone and collect money from the citizens. But in order to build taxes, we actually need to build the other administrative buildings, which is the administrative city. This one, and we need just that for the tax office. But because we are here, let's also try to build up the palace. So let's do that. Now again, this requires an inspector, so let's add an inspector there, and let's just stop these ones from going, just to make sure that these buildings don't collapse. But now that we have this administrative city, this has a lot of employee needs. You need 40 employees to work this building. I think this has also 40 employees, so those are 70 employees required for both buildings. But once we have that, we can now start building the tax office. So for that, let me just delete one of the houses here, let's say this one, and then we're gonna build a tax office instead. But for the tax office to actually start collecting money, we need paper, and for that we need to go to industry, and I think it should be here in paper maker. We can add this, and this will add in and create paper. Now for paper, hemp is required, but let's just add one for now and see if that manages to fulfill all of our needs of paper for the tax office. If we need more, then we'll add more a bit later. So yeah, we set up our trade. Let's give another offering to the gods, make sure they are happy with us and we don't have natural disasters occurring. And you've seen there that there was a message before that one of the cities became hostile to us. I think it was this one, if I'm not mistaken. This game features a pretty basic combat system. You can build up troops and you can go ahead and conquer some of the cities and take them over, in which case they will have to pay you tribute. We are a bit we have some way to go until we manage to do that. But basically you can go to the military tab, and here is where you can add in your military. You are going to have, depending on the type of military, you will have requirements, but you'll need to add in weapons and stuff like that. Now I think one of the next steps is actually to start having a surplus of weapons, and for that we are going to need steel to start producing them. we don't have any steel on this map. We do have copper here, but no steel. And in order to start weapons production, we actually need steel, so for that we need to buy it. I'm looking now at some of the cities we have unlocked and try to see if some of them might be selling steel, but actually none of them are currently selling steel. This city right here produces steel, so we might be able to buy steel from them, and actually we could sell weapons, cabbages and wheat, so I think this is a good trade route to get. Now, right now they are displeased, so if we send a trade request, they won't actually accept it. We need to improve the relations with them first, and for that we can give them a gift. So let's click this button, and they need wheat, and we don't really have extra wheat there. Maybe cabbage. Let's give them 4 cabbages and also 4 bushels of wheat. Should we also give them some cash? Yeah, sure. Let's give them some cash. So we gave them those gifts, and now that should improve the relationship with them. Okay, while we're waiting for that trade route to be set up, let's try to build another industry, and maybe we can build some lacquerware industry. So let's build some lacquerware producers first. So we're gonna build lacquerware refineries. And this will produce lacquer, but in order to actually sell it, we need to make it into lacquerware, so we are gonna need lacquerware makers. So I think I'm gonna add in another row of buildings here, so something like this. And we're gonna have our let's say like that. We're gonna have our inspector tower here. And I think we need one more. Let's say something like this. So yeah, here we should be producing lacquer, and then we can have just a warehouse to store those productions. We need to wait on the lacquer to be produced here, and then here we're gonna produce the lacquerware. Now we don't currently need that in our city, so let's also try to sell that. So we have that sold. Let's see now. What is the relationship is now apathetic. They actually might accept a trade route with our city, so let's send the request now and see if they accept it. Now for the workforce, we're starting to have some more people needed, so let's try to evolve the houses one more level. For that we're gonna need a music school. So this is a special type of service. It doesn't need to be in the residential zone, it just needs to be somewhere on the map, and this will automatically spawn musicians. They will go to the marketplace, and there from then they will generate walkers that go through the residential zone and fulfill the need for musicians. So you can see them here in the marketplace, and this should be okay, hopefully. And one of the other things that we actually need the ceramics shop, so we're gonna add it. We have stored a lot of ceramics in here. Now the houses are evolving. This now becomes a spacious dwelling because of this guy right here, which announces that there are musicians at the marketplace. Again, this game has a lot of charm to it. And now my houses are evolving, adding an extra room for 10 people. And actually with the added ceramics, then they are getting turned into elegant dwellings, and which have an extra 10 rooms. So basically each level you'll get a 10 extra houses there. So we should have enough workers to fulfill our current need. And now the trade route has been opened up. Let's try to add it. I think it was Chinso. So let's add that. Let's add it here. And we said that we wanted to buy a steel. So let's go ahead and buy. We can buy 12 resources of steel, which I think should be enough to be processed by 3 workshops should be able to process that. But let's buy it here, and then we need to go to military and buy weaponsmiths. We could have them build somewhere around here, maybe do something with this copper and have this like a secondary industrial zone. Or we can keep it right here. This will be a bit of traveling time that you need to do between stations, but I think it's okay. And here we got another event with a Happy New Year. You basically could have a New Year celebration. This will cost a bit of food resources, I think, but it will give you a boost to the happiness of the city. But yeah, let's actually add in the weaponsmiths. We're gonna do it here. We also need to have an inspector tower there. Yeah, we cannot access that road anymore, but no problem. We have the inspector tower here. We can actually stop him somewhere around there, and we could add other stuff around this road here. Now for weapons, we're gonna need its own warehouse, which we might be able to fit somewhere in this space right here. We can also fit it there, but let's actually add it there, and this will accept weapons. Can we draw this road? Yes, we can. Let's make sure and to add also roadblocks there. One thing I want to check is to see if the tax office is actually working, and yeah, I think that's enough paper for the tax office to be running. We're starting to get a lot of more people in the city again. We are buying steel. This will be sent to the weaponsmiths, and I think we should try to keep up on a supply of weapons to maybe have be able to have some soldiers because they will require weapons, and have some soldiers for us so that we could protect ourselves. But yeah, this should be good. So yeah, we're building lacquerware. I think this also needs wood actually. So they need lacquer. Yeah, they have some stored lacquer in here, but we don't have any wood. So here in this section I might create some logging sheds. Trying to find a good place to put them. Let's say somewhere around here. They also need an inspector tower. This can stop here, and we can add in more buildings there. So the guys now will go in, will start cutting wood, and this should be processed into timber and sent to the lacquerware makers. Okay, our weapons production also started. Now to evolve more we need an acrobat, and we also need a resource that we don't have access to on this map, which is tea. So just to prepare for the need to evolve and have that ready, we need to actually find a place that that sells tea, and actually we have it already. So we have Chendo here actually sells tea. So once we start to need more people, we can just buy some tea from Chendo. Let's actually start buying it. We're gonna limit it to, no, this will be 12, but for tea we're gonna buy just 8 resources of it for now, just to have a small stockpile ready when we actually need it. But we still have like 164 people unemployed, and actually I think we can start building a small military. We might do the military on this island right here. I think it's a good place for it, and let's just try to build a simple infantry fort. So this requires 20 people, and for this specifically, for the infantry fort, you just need to send them weapons, and with the weapons sent, they will start slowly recruiting people. Now by default you can only have 2 military forts. Those are given by the administrative city. If you want more than that, and let's actually try also a cavalry fort maybe. This also need weapons, and I think this more needs also wheat if I'm not mistaken. But after that you cannot add in more. If you want to go more over this limit, and you'll need to go over this limit if you want to be safe, you'll need to have a separate type of housing called an elite housing, where I'm gonna build that a bit later. Elite houses are a different type of houses which are a bit more let's say require a lot more stuff. They have the basic requirements, so food, hemp, ceramics and tea, but they require some extra stuff on top of it, and also have some harder desirability requirements. Now because in the new year we have celebrated, when you reach the year the same, when you first create your profile, you specify an zodiac, a Chinese zodiac sign. When you reach a year that's the same as your zodiac sign, you get to pick a special bonus, and they are just they aren't that big. Most of them are pretty good, but here I think I'm just special gift. It will give you an animal in the menagerie. This really affects more the campaign. I won't go into this let's play on the menagerie too much, but here I think I'm just gonna pick improved production bonus. And apparently we get a production bonus for weapons, meats and soybeans. So sure, thank you for that, I guess. But yeah, our weapons are starting to get delivered. So this has 4 loads of weapons, and now you can see that the soldiers are slowly getting created, and you can actually control them. You can specify places to go. They have simple formations. You can ask them to turn around, have looser or title sections, or you can click this button to send them back to the barracks. Okay, and I think this is a really good start for our city. We still have a god here. Let's make sure that we give him offerings. Curious about the trading here, so we just have 8 completed. I might want to do something, because it seems to me that the transporting is a bit too slow. I might move these warehouses from here to here. Just so that they don't need to travel that much when they want to trade. But we'll see. We might do that in the future. And basically now I do have the basic design for more citizens. Do we still have available personnel? I think actually now there are 2 extra steps which we might want to do. I would like to build up the elite housing to increase our military, and maybe also start working on the monument and show you a bit how that mechanic works. So we have a pretty decent city, we have industry, we are making money, we are pretty stable, I would say, with everything. So I think this is a good place to actually end this episode. Next time we'll probably be focusing on the military, setting up the elite housing, and also constructing the temple. So thanks a lot for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed it and have a great day. Bye bye.